Okay, class. So, hello again. For this recording, we're going to talk about the strengths and limitations of performance-based assessment. Okay, so just to recall, when we say performance-based assessment, we're talking about assessments that requires students to perform a certain task to show their skills. Okay, so ano po yung strength ng ganitong uri ng assessment? So, in this regard or in this discussion, we're going to base our discussion on the statements of Cajigal and Mantuano in 2014. Okay? So, first things first, ang sabi nila, okay, one of the strengths of performance-based assessment is that this type of assessment clearly defines and clarifies learning targets. So, ano po ibig sabihin nun? Okay? Ang ibig po sabihin nun is that ang performance-based assessment or gagamitin ko na lang PBA, okay, it shows what particular skill is needed to be demonstrated. It explains why that particular skill must be demonstrated by the learners. And usually, ang pinaka-main assumption dito is yung mga skill kasi na yon ay gagamitin nyo sa real-world challenges. And these skills requires students to use different learning skills, different knowledges na kanilang nakuha throughout the instruction. Okay? So, ang sabi rin dito, okay, they can completely match with various learning targets and offers a direct way to assess what the students know and what they can do in a particular context. So, ano po ibig sabihin nun? It means na ang performance-based assessment, kayang-kaya po nilang mag-extract ng mga skills na tinatago ng students. Mga skills na hindi mo makikita sa isang particular traditional assessment. Okay? Now, number 2, it allows students to demonstrate their own skills, talents, and expertise. Kasi nga, di ba, may mga skills ang students na hindi nila natututunan sa classroom. And yet, itong mga skills na to, yung mga madalas pa rin na ginagamit ng mga students sa real life. For example, a lot of naipasa students, okay, I have not taught them Canva, but they're really good at it. And they know that in their particular career, they're going to use Canva. Okay, so during the times that I require them to pass an output, they use Canva, something that I haven't taught, and yet it is within their expertise. It shows that performance-based assessment allows you to see what the students can do outside of the classroom, regardless of whether you taught them or not. It allows students to capitalize on the collection of their skills that they have gathered throughout their lives. Okay? Then number 3, it advocates constructivist principle of learning. Ano yun? When you say constructivist, this is when students form or students accumulate more knowledge by connecting the new knowledge to their old knowledge. Okay? So, for example, ako marunong ako mag-Excel. Okay? So, there are times when I find the applications of Excel to be applicable. Okay? The features of Excel to be applicable in times na hindi siya covered ng mathematics, in times outside of my field. For example, nagagamit ko siya sa judging. Nagagamit ko siya sa pagsusort ng information. Okay, nagagamit ko siya sa pagbibilang ng frequency, etc., etc. Okay? And then, marirealize ko lang yun long after I have learned Excel. So, sometimes kayo din, when you have stored knowledge, minsan may nakukuha kang bagong knowledge na marirealize mo, ay, pwede ko palang gamitin ito, pwede ko palang gamitin yung old knowledge ko to improve this new knowledge. Okay? So, ano pa yung ibig sabihin ni Cajigal and Mantuano dito? Sabi nila, students are more engaged in active learning and they use their previous learning to construct new knowledge. Okay? And yung new knowledge na to, nagagawa nila through exploration and inquiry. Okay? So, yun nga. When students are exposed to new knowledge, okay, it allows them to form, it allows them to connect this new knowledge to old knowledge in an effort to make a good quality product or a high quality performance. Okay, and then number 4, PBA uses a variety of approach to student evaluation. Okay, variety of approach, makikita ito sa criteria na gagamitin ng teacher. Pag nakita mo yung criteria ng teacher, na-realize mo lahat yon ay connected pero magkakaiba, you know that you are being evaluated in different parts. Okay? So for example, sa student demonstration, ano yung mga criteria doon? Number 1, content knowledge. Dapat alam mo kung ano sinasabi mo. Number 2, presentation of knowledge, pedagogical knowledge. Number 3, provisions for independent learning and differentiated instruction. Number 4, questioning skills. Number 5, dress and posture. OMG, ang daming criteria. But nonetheless, you will know that you are evaluated into these different parts, okay, these different qualities na magkakaiba on their own right, but are very much connected to the task na pinapagawa sa'yo, which is teaching or demonstration teaching. Okay? Again, what's important to know here is that when you set criteria, dapat kausapin mo rin yung students. Ano ba yung kaya nilang gawin? Ano yung kaya nilang ibigay dito? Okay? Kasi meron yung iba teacher naglalagay criteria, dapat ang ginastos ay more than ganito, ganyan. OMG, anong connection ng gastos doon sa project na gagawin nila? Okay? Sometimes, it can be doable. Sometimes, it's not. That's why you have to talk to your students. In what criteria do they want to be judged? Okay? And then, you negotiate. Okay? Number 5, performance assessment allows teachers to explain the main goal and processes of teaching and learning process. Why? Because, again, the main role of teachers is for you to develop the child as functioning members of the society. Yun yung pinaka-main goal ng education. And then, pag nakapag-performance assessment ka, nakikita mo yung kung paano gawin ng bata iyon, kung paano niya i-apply yung mga natutunan niya mula sa mga itinuro mo, okay, into doing a task na nakabase sa societal actions. Okay? So, yun po. This will show yung reflection ng teachings mo sa learnings ng bata at yung learnings ng bata sa what they can do and what they can do into how they will become members of the society. Okay? So, yun po yung strength ng performance assessment in this case. It allows you to see into the future, okay, or something like that. Okay, so we also have to understand, okay, that ang PBA, it's useful for diverse learning. It's useful for students that are not good at one thing but may be good at others. Kasi nga, ang PBA, it allows for holistic assessment. Okay? Hindi ka lang nakafocus sa knowledge, nakafocus ka rin sa skills. At hindi lang sa skills, nakafocus ka rin sa tinatawag na ingenuity. Okay? Sa innovativeness of the learners. Okay? Some of these things are not measurable by close-ended or objective tests. Okay? Always remember that PBA encapsulates the ability of the students, encapsulates the ability of the teacher to set appropriate ways to assess learners. Okay? So, sabi nga natin, ang performance-based assessment student-centered siya. Pero dapat ang teacher marunong mag-craft ng performance assessment. Okay? Now, this is something I am personally weak on Why? Because I do not have the resources. Okay? But, diba? In an ideal society, what you really want is for students to perform. Okay? What you really want is to see all of these performances para maibigay mo. Okay? Yung guidance, okay? Yung remediation, yung improvements na pwedeng gawin ng bata. Okay? So, ang kailangan dito, ang kailangan ay consistent application. Okay? Kasi po pag hindi ka consistent, yun na yung pinaka-weakness ng performance-based assessment. Mali-mali na evaluation and everything else goes to hell. Okay? So, dapat consistent po tayo sa performance-based assessment. Okay? So, since meron mga strengths ang PBA, of course, meron ding weaknesses ang PBA. Okay? The first weakness is that it is a tedious process. Okay? Why? Because in setting criteria, in setting the activity, you have to check, is the activity reflective of real life? Number 1. Okay? Number 2, is the criteria reflective of a good performance? Kasi po, kapag hindi ka naglagay ng maayos na criteria dyan, chances are, what? Naglagay ka lang basta-basta. Hindi mo alam kung bakit importante yung criteria na iyon. Okay? And pagkatapos mo maglagay ng criteria at justify kung bakit importante yung criteria na yon, kailangan mo ring sabihin ano yung maganda, ano yung hindi. Okay? What makes, for example, sabi mo, creativity. What is a showcase of high creativity? Pag gumamit ba siya ng maraming colors? Pag gumamit siya ng maraming themes? Pag naglagay siya ng maraming characters? Okay? And what makes a bad one? Okay? So, task, criteria, and then quality of the task. After no quality, what else? Paplanuhin mo pa yung mga boundaries ng iyong activity. Ano mga boundaries yan? Ano yung pwedeng gamitin? Ano yung hindi? Saang software? Gaano yung time? Saan nyo gagawin? Some of these things are still within the development of high quality performance. Okay? Okay, ito number 2. Ito yung pinaka-problema. Ang hirap po i-administer ng performance assessment because it takes a lot of time. Okay? Pag magpapademo kami, hindi pwedeng sabay-sabay kayo mag-demo. Because we are looking at the individual student's skill to demo. Okay? Maaaring magagawa ito sa pagpapaproject kami, di ba? Pwedeng sabay-sabay yung gawin yon. But still, okay, it requires a lot of your time na hindi namin pwedeng kunin mula sa inyong ibang subject. Okay? Yun po yung pinaka-problem nito. Unlike traditional class, di ba? Isang meeting lang natin, tapos agad yung isang buong module. If I want to do that. Okay? And of course, aside from matagal na siyang i-administer, matagal din siyang iskoran. Bakit? Kasi pag marami kang criteria, marami kang titignan na qualities. Di ba? Mag-i-score ka pa doon. Kung 7 criteria yung nilagay mo, ang dami naman nun. Minsan 5 lang eh. For example, may 4 na criteria ka. Okay, sure. 4 na criteria. Okay? And then, meron kang 50 students. Okay? 50 times 4 criteria. Sabi mo, 4 criteria lang. For example, 200 criteria yung i-check mo. And then, kailangan mo pang i-decipher kung saan sila sa qualities na binigay mo. O, ito, gawa ni JK. O, si Char. Yung gawa ni K. Anong score siya dito sa creativity? Anong score siya dito sa originality? Okay? Minsan, 20 seconds per criteria. Pero mahirap na yun. Kasi, lalo na pag malaki yung project, kailangan mo tignan. Kung babasahin mo pa yun, halimbawa, essay yan. Babasahin mo yun. Okay? Isang beses mababasa mo ba, ma-internalize mo ba lahat? Hindi. Uulitin mong basahin para lang ma-identify kung saan siya papasok. So, sobrang tagal mag-score ng ganito. Unlike sa traditional assessment, 1A. Mali ba? Mali. Tapos na. Diba? Isang beses lang. Okay? And the next, they have lower reliability. And ito na yung medyo sinasabi ko sa inyong common. You know that subjective tests have low reliability. Okay? Kasi maraming biases na nakapasok doon. Sometimes sa teacher bias. Yung teacher mo, pag unang beses nag-check, sige, okay lang. Pero pag medyo tumatagal na, nagkakaroon na yan ng checking fatigue, judging fatigue. Ano yung fatigue na yun? Yung ayaw ng tignan, diba? Napapagod na. Sige, i-train mo na nga lang yan. Okay, medyo okay naman. Pero yung iba, yung mga nauna, na-inform mo kasi nagandahan ka. Okay? Yung mga sumunod, maganda rin naman, pero pagod ka na. Sige, trim mo na lang. Diba? That is just an example of the judging bias and many more types of biases. Okay? So, yun po yung lower reliability. Okay? Yung scoring mo all throughout time and yung scores ng students. Pag marami kang performance tasks, maaaring hindi yan reliable. And ito na yung sinasabi ko kanina. Pag magaling ka sa skills, very motivated ka. Okay? Pag hindi ka magaling, OMG, ayoko mag-performance based. Nahahalatang tanga ako. Okay? So, that's another weakness ng PBA. It exposes the great strengths as well as the great weaknesses of the students. And kadalasan, pag yung weakness yung na-expose sa students, nawawalan sila ng motivation. Okay? Isabay mo pa yung society na medyo ang tingin sa weaknesses are defining features instead of the strengths, di ba? We focus more on the negatives rather than the positives. Okay? Talagang mawawalan ka ng motivation. So, that is the weakness of PBA. And since alam mo na yung weakness na yun, some of these weaknesses you can address, okay, by having a more efficient checking method, by encouraging students to try and that there is no failure, okay, and etc., etc., okay? Of course, I will not sugarcoat this. The classes in DepEd, even our classes now, ang dadami nyo po. Kaya lagi ako nag-apologize sa inyo because I cannot easily do performance-based assessment. Kaya ako, pumupunta ako sa objective assessment. Kaya sinasabi nyo, ang hirap naman ng pa-quiz ni sir. Because I want to really test your knowledge because yun lang po yung kaya kong i-test. Doing PBA is really hard, but it is really rewarding. Kasi nga po, ang PBA, nagpapakita ng totoong skills ninyo. Okay? Unfortunately, madami din siyang weaknesses that are very much amplified by our current, by our current situations in the overcrowding of classes, in the, etc., etc. Okay? Of course, may mga biases din tayo which also worsens the problems. Okay? So what is there to pick up in this particular recording? PBA has a lot of great strengths. It allows the students to diversify their learning. It allows the students to show their entire personality in a particular output. But it requires a lot from the teachers as well. And sometimes itong requirements ng PBA ay hindi kayang i-address ng teacher. Okay? So, yes. That's why I told you. You have to balance. Saan ka maglalagay ng PBA? Saan ka gagamit ng traditional assessment? Because a lot of times, PBA is not really feasible. But it is always and will always be rewarding. Okay? So that is all for this particular recording. I'll see you on the next one. Bye, class.